So I'm 20 years old, and I sit my parents down to tell them my big news. I'm thinking about being Jewish. First they laugh, then they're silent, and then finally my mom says, "Really?" I get annoyed. "Yes, really." She's still confused. "Why?" "Well, I've just been thinking about who I am and what religion I want for myself and just feeling really connected to Grandma and Grandpa, and I don't know, I just think I want to be Jewish." "What about being a Baha'i like us?" "Well, I thought about that too, but I went to a Shabbat dinner service at the Hillel Center on campus, and I just felt really at home." Then my dad chimes in. Let me ask you something. How many black people were at this Shabbat dinner?" I get more annoyed because my dad connects literally everything to race. "None, but what does that have to do with anything?" More than you think, pal. All right, just something to think about." "Okay. You know, I thought you guys would be more supportive." "Well, we're just really surprised. I mean, why would you want to be Jewish? If you want religion, why wouldn't you think about being a Baha'i? I just don't get it." "Well, like I said, I've just been feeling really connected to Grandma and Grandpa and to being Jewish, and I don't know, I just think it might be for me." My grandparents, Irving and Esther, were a big influence in my life. Before becoming a Baha'i, my mom was Jewish, very Jewish. A Jersey Jew named Janie who grew up speaking whatever you call the Yiddish version of Spanglish, going to Delhi's temple in a Zionist summer camp called Young Judea, and who still has all of her bat mitzvah jewelry. My parents raised me and my sister in Boston in the Baha'i faith, but initially my mom tried to stay Jewish. So growing up, we'd celebrate Hanukkah, and she sent me and my sister to a Jewish Sunday school for about 6 months, and we would always go to my grandparents' house for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Passover. And I loved celebrating Passover at my grandparents' house. My uncle orchestrating Dayenu with a glass of Manischewitz, searching for the afikomen with my cousins, and eating my grandma's matzah brie for breakfast. "What do you want with it? Jelly or sugar?" "Both." "You can't have both. It's too sweet." My mom became a Baha'i when I was 10, and it was around that time that my connection to Judaism started to wane. We stopped celebrating Hanukkah, and we were going to my grandparents for the high holidays less and less. And I think my grandma's last hurrah was when she sent me $500 for my 13th birthday. I had never seen so much money associated with my name before. I was like, "Dad, I think Grandma made a mistake. There's an extra zero here." "No, she just wishes you were Jewish. It's your bar mitzvah money." And it was around the same time that my own connection to religion started to wane. Growing up in a white suburb, normal is everything, and I was just sick of having the hot mess of identities that constantly needed to explain itself. My dad is black, my mom is white. We celebrate Christmas and we celebrate Hanukkah, but I'm not really Christian or Jewish. I'm a Baha'i. No, I'm not kidding, it's a real religion. So I couldn't normalize my skin color, but I could normalize my religion by just forgetting about it, which is what I did until I got to college when I became Mr. Identity, self-actualizing at least twice a semester. So I moved into the Africana Center. I moved into the Asian American Center. If there was an ethnic center on campus, I tried to live in it. I started a mixed race student group, became a race and gender studies major. I tried to cornrow my hair. I did it all. And in this search for who I was, I started to think about religion. And memories of my grandparents were feeding my interest in being Jewish. Memories which for me encapsulated what it meant to be Jewish. So, for example, I remember the first time that I saw my grandpa on the bima at his temple in Englewood as an elder and feeling really proud. Not sure if he was awake, but still feeling really proud. And I loved when he would take me to his favorite deli, Saul and Saul's, where we would have the heart attack special, which is pastrami and chopped liver on rye. And when it would come, he'd say, "If your grandma asks, we had tuna." And I loved when he would let me help him untangle gold chains from a bag of tangled up gold chains that my grandma had given him to untangle. I don't know why this is such a persistent memory or why we had so many tangled gold chains in the house so as to fill an entire bag. But he would always start by putting on his 2 pairs of reading glasses, stacking one on top of the other, like a sort of makeshift prescription, and then shout, "God damn these goddamn chains," as he unloosened the knots and gave them to me to lie out flat on the table next to us when he was finished. And from my grandma, I was learning really important life lessons, like the rules of fasting on Yom Kippur. "Grandma, you're eating." "What, this? It's not food, it's candy." Or how to speak a little bit of Yiddish, including such gems as, "Who made you such a maven?" Or, you tired, pussycat? Why don't you come put your kepi down? And my personal favorite, how to jog your memory when you've forgotten someone's name. What was that person's name? A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, A, B, Barry Goldstein. What a schmuck. So at 20, and with all these wonderful memories in mind, I decided it was time for me to try Jewish on. So I went home and I got my family's menorah so that I could celebrate Hanukkah at the dorm. I pulled out my chai and mezuzah pendants that my grandparents had given me when I was younger, and I started to wear them along with a yarmulke that I got out of my family's leftover bar mitzvah yarmulke bag. And I started going to the Shabbat dinner services at the Hillel Center on campus on Friday nights. Now, about 3 weeks later, my Jewish revival came to an end, and I knew it had when I went home and my dad said, "So, you still Jewish?" And I knew I was about to hand him an "I told you so" moment, so I was really annoyed because I was like, "No." And then my mom asks, "So what was this whole being Jewish thing about anyway?" And I don't know exactly what I said at the time, but the question has stuck with me, and I think what it was about is that I love being Jewish, even though I don't practice Judaism. You know, I don't wear my chai and mezuzah pendants anymore, but I still have them at home in a box of keepsakes, and my mom still has our family's menorah, which is a tradition that I love and cherish and hope to share with my own kids someday. You know, eventually I began to investigate the Baha'i faith, and I became a Baha'i for myself, but that doesn't change my love of being Jewish. I love my Jewish mom, and I love surprising other Jews by dropping a little Yiddish or Hebrew on them or telling them that I have a Jewish mom. And most of all, I love my very Jewish grandparents, Irving and Esther. Thank you.